today we will speak about the incident response plan, what it is, what is the action plan that you need to do in case of an incident scenarios. Then we talk about the data security with OCI, and we cover a bit about the OCI data safe. Then it will be, of course, a demo, which will take the most part of this session. Keep in mind that today we saved 1 hour. Speaking about our special guests, today we are happy to be joined by Ghassan Tadros and Marcos Alvarado, who are our security design specialists within Oracle EMEA, and they will cover the topic that you registered for today. One more note on my side, and then I'll pass over to Ghassan, is that everything you see in this call has an educational scope. So if you guys would like to use our services further, feel free to connect with somebody from the Oracle account team. Also, if you watch any of our sessions recordings in the future, keep in mind that you might see some slightly differences in the Cloud Console menu because we enhance our products on a regular basis. That was all on my side. Ghassan, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Violeta.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. And good day to you if you are watching us later on the YouTube channel. Along with me today is my colleague Marcus and Olaf. Myself, my name is Ghassan Tadros. I'm a security engineer. I've been in the IT field for around 17 or so years, 15 of which in the cybersecurity field. And my favorite subject of cybersecurity is identity and access in particular. Marcus, good morning. Olaf, good morning.
Good morning, Ghassan. So my name is Marcos Alvarado. I'm happy to be here, and we are part of the security design specialist team in EMEA with scope, of course, also with many years, more than 20 years experience in the field, always working with security. Of course, we love the topic, and we hope that today you find informative the topic.
Yeah, thank you, Marcos.
Good morning from me, Olaf Heimburger, a CISO specialist in the same team as Ghassan and Marcus are. I'm your Q&A buddy today.
Yeah, thank you, Olaf, for taking care of that. And so today, subject in this episode of Cloud Coaching is about steps and actions you can take, you can add to your incident response plan to be in a better position, basically, to respond to incidents while you are using the cloud. And make no mistake, whenever we use any system, we should always expect that the incident will happen. We should be ready for it. And the question is always when it will happen, and what can I do about it, and how fast I can respond, right? And that's what we will be discussing today. Now, Gartner advised enterprises to have, at least not to miss, these 3 things. And those 3 things related to incident response plan, first of all, is to have a plan in place. Now, I was looking at the poll at the beginning, and I see many of you answered that you do not have an incident response plan in place. And then I see that many of you also are from either cloud admins, teams, or even Oracle developers. I didn't see anyone answered as security operations. It could be that you're not aware of the plan because it's being managed by the security operation team. But it could be that you're really missing one. So in all cases, it is good to have one, and then we'll discuss more details of what you can do about it, at least to be aware of. Now, the second thing is to prepare yourself with scenarios of incidents that might happen, and an action plan or a playbook, a series of actions that you can take step by step in case of that scenario happens. And the third thing is to continually test those action plans. By that we mean, now first of all, to continually make checks and assessments of your configurations, but also make sure that your team is aware, is educated, is experienced with those steps. and that you have a resilient team as well. So if someone, you're not depending on one person, he's on leave or he's like on absent, and he's absent, and then you don't know what to do. You need to know who you contact, and then what steps you can take. And if that is something technical, whether you need to look at the logs or prepare something, you have to practice it over and over so you're really experienced in that and you do it quickly. So those are the three different things Gartner advise on. We want to take it one by one and give you more details on the same. Now, about having a plan. So if not already having a plan, if you are one of the people who answered that you don't have a plan at all, we recommend that you start one, even initial one and basic one. If you already have a plan, then make sure you are connected with the team. You know, at least sometimes, you know, the team might keep these operations, security operations, as sensitive details and confidential. But then at least know who the team is and who you can reach to, because the incident could happen to you and you have to report it. So be connected with those teams. Get as much details as you can know about the processes they have in place for incident response. Make sure they are also onboarded into OCI. You might be using OCI as Oracle developer yourself. In many cases, we see that the cloud operation team might, or even a security operation team might not yet be up to speed or aware of the usage of that. So make sure they are connected. They know that you are using OCI or Oracle PaaS services, and you collaborate with them. You understand what they do. They understand also how you are using it. And some of these best practices that we will share today, we'll also leave you with a list of very valuable resources at the end. Marcus will mention. Please do have a look at them. So other than your internal team and processes, we recommend that you also familiarize yourself with Oracle support procedures. Make sure you can open SR as quick as possible. You know your CSI number. You know how to escalate an SR. You know how to call, how to ask for a manager callback. Also important to connect with local team on ground from Oracle, and mainly the account cloud engineer that is assigned to your organization, and the cloud adoption manager. Those people can really help you to escalate things and drive things faster. And faster is something we really need in case of incidents. But it's even very good to connect with them at all times. So it is very good for you to be aware of the overall security features and toolset available in OCI for you to use. Things like identity and access management, data security, cloud security posture management, secret and encryption key management, and all these options. And the last cloud coaching session that I believe happened last week covered that with our colleagues Paul and Fabrizio. So please do have a look at the recording. Right. Now, the last thing about having this plan is that it's really vital that you understand the shared responsibility model. And for that, let's take you through this quickly. If you look at the left side, you have the whole IT stack down from physical up to the identity and configuration layer. That's just a typical stack. On the left side, this is the responsibility model when you run this on your own data center. And so you're basically responsible about the whole thing, about securing the whole thing. Now, as you adopt cloud and you move from the left to the right, you start delegating part of the responsibility to the cloud service provider. In this case, it's Oracle. And you can see the more you move toward the SaaS model of cloud, that you are delegating the most responsibility to the cloud service provider. However, in all models, whether it's your own data center, it's infrastructure or PaaS or SaaS, you notice that the responsibility of securing your data, your configuration, as well as your identity remains at your side the whole time. And so that's why it's very important that you're aware of that. You understand whenever an incident happens, was it responsibility of the cloud vendor? And so you can reach out to them. or is it your responsibility, then what you can do about it, right? And we are here today to discuss that part. When it's your responsibility, what things you can do in advance to make you in a better situation during the response time, right? All right, let's look at the second part, which is the action plan. We will share with you today so many scenarios, and then go through live demo of how you can configure these things. In particular, we will look at identity and access management best practices, how you build different compartments. We'll explain what compartments are, how you can use it to break down your tenant into different parts and then control who get access to what, because that will help you to implement a least privilege principle of access rights, and that will eliminate I would say, the risk once you have an incident. That will eliminate the exposure of let's say of the break and access. Now we'll also look at groups policies, but also you look at users, how you can easily enable multi-factor authentication, how you as an admin can or any user for that matter can enroll in multi-factor authentication, add more devices and check on these, how you can also look at confidential applications and make sure that they are not misused, and that's especially important in particular after an incident. Marcus also will take us through network security, logging and monitoring, and what things you can do to monitor and control things, whether before or after the incidents. We will have a look at the access governance, helping us to, that part will be recorded. We will see quickly how access governance, which is an OCI native service, help you to review who has access to what. And what does that mean across tenants, or like in the whole tenant or across tenants as well. All right. Now the last part, which is the test, we will look at security posture management, how you can test your configuration against benchmarks and best practices like Center of Internet Security, but also many recipes that Oracle do provide part of CloudGuard for you to monitor your configuration, but also the activity behavior of your admins. We will see threats being detected, and whether it's critical or high sensitivity. We recommend that you look at these and you remediate these. We will see this live as well. Marcus also will show us more configurations you can configure, for notification when something happened, whether like you can get fine-grained notification of what action is happening on your tenant. But before we look at the live demo, there are a few things we also want to share with you as a best practice on the architecture level, how you connect with your SOC center, with your monitoring team, if you have a SIEM in place. Now, if you don't, you will still have different options, how to look at your data security, what things you can do quickly using OCI native ready-to-use services. And the last thing, how you can also assess the whole configuration of your tenant, comparing it to the CIS benchmark. Let's start with these, look at the last three things that you can see here, and then we jump directly to the live demo. So starting with the integration with your SOC center. Now, we recommend that you, first of all, you configure the notifications and the logging of your cloud services. So for example, if you have a storage bucket and someone is writing files, uploading, downloading files, deleting files, that you enable the logging of these actions. And same applies for all the other services, right? Marcus also, I believe, will show us one of the things is the VCN flow logs. The metadata about the traffic flowing between the network, so through the network of your tenant, basically knowing the source IP, destination IP, the amount of data, whether it was rejected or accepted, so how the data is flowing. It's important that you enable that at the beginning, and then you can utilize things like Service Connector Hub, OCI streaming service to push continually push these logs into your SOC center. In the picture here in the diagram, you can see out-of-the-box integration with Splunk. We also support Microsoft Sentinel out of the box. That means that we basically have a ready-to-use OCI serverless component or OCI functions that can contact that SIEM solution and push the logs there. But for any other SIEM solution you might be using, you can just create that OCI function calling the APIs of that SIEM. Now, it is also possible for you to extract these logs either from the console for the last 14 days, look at them, maybe analyze them with the Log Explorer or Log Analytics services of OCI, but also you can extract them and analyze them with your own tools, right? However, if you have this architecture implemented in place, you do have a SOC center, having the logs already there, that will be the fastest thing you can do. So when incidents happen, you already have the logs, you can immediately start looking at what happened in that day or that moment. So about data security, we provide data safe service, part of OCI services that can do monitoring and security options for all Oracle databases, regardless of the deployment model you are following. So whether you're having this database on your own data center today, you can still connect to it, whether it's on cloud, whether it's a database cloud service or autonomous database, you can register it in data safe, and that will help you to do data discovery, to understand where the sensitive data is and how many clones of this sensitive data you have. Then you can compare those databases with best practices and regulations. One of them is the CIS benchmark. Now, by the way, just a little bit of introduction. CIS is the Center of Internet Security. It's a non-profit organization. If you didn't work with their benchmarks before, they bring in virtual teams from all around the globe. They sit and they are experts in one system. They come up with a list of configurations that you should not miss. These are like foundational baseline configuration of best practices of how you securely configure such a system. They have more than 140 benchmarks for different kinds of systems. At this point, for data security, I'm referring to their benchmark for Oracle database. And so DataSafe will compare the instance you have, your Oracle database instance, with the CIS benchmark and tell you how compliant you are or how much you deviated from that best practice. And it will highlight those for you, but it can also highlight or compare to other regulations and standards like GDPR, STIG, and many more. It also can highlight for you who has access to what. We are talking here about the database administrators, what access rights they have across the tenants, across your fleet of databases. And so you can decide whether someone is having too much power, for example. You can remove some of the access rights that they have, and so on. Many other things Cloud DataSafe can do, and it's really quick to start using. You only have to register your database. It will take a few minutes, and then you can start looking at the dashboards, do analysis, and provide great value and faster response to what is happening. It also pull the logs of the database and look at the activities happening. So the insert, update, delete statements, and keep analyzing. And the last thing before we go to the live demo is how you compare your OCI tenant, the whole tenant, with CIS benchmark for OCI. Now, that's a different benchmark from the same CIS group. At this level, they are looking at 5 different domains. If you look at the screen, you can see, for example, the domain of identity and access being covered, network configuration, logging and monitoring, storage, and asset management. The total is 47 today. It's 47 different controls and best practices they advise on. And we have this standard health check service that you can run in few minutes, and we can support you on that for the first time. once you run that, you get such a report you see in front of you, telling you that for these 47, what are those that you are missing? And for those you are missing, how many findings in your tenant exist that violate this best practice? Also, a great one is that it gives you a remediation recommendation. What do you need to do in order to fix that? Now, that's a summarized one. A more detailed remediation help, or like, let's say, step-by-step configuration will be found in the CIS benchmark white paper, which you can download from CIS benchmark website. And we are leaving the link for that in the resources at the end. Also, you can always refer to Oracle official documentation. So with that, let's move to the live demo. I don't know if you have any questions, or Olaf, you want to respond to any one of the questions live, or everything is okay on the chat, then we can start with the demo.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, so I have one tenant here. I'm already authenticated as an admin. I passed the multi-factor authentication. Few things we want to show you is, let's start with the identity and access management. So from the main menu, when you go to identity and security, you can see all the security services we have. Looking at identity in particular and going to my domains. Now, each domain is an identity instance where you can manage users, connect applications for single sign-on, manage your password policies and all that. Now, in particular today, I'm interested about securing the tenant, right? OCI tenant, and for that we use the default domain to manage OCI admins. So looking at the default domain and going to the list of users I have, I see that I have 2 admins here. Now keep in mind that those are break glass admins. What we recommend is, if you look at the groups, and in particular a group called administrator, any member of that group is a super user on the whole tenant, right? So we recommend to have a small list of users here, not much, maybe 3, 4, 5 admins. Those are break glass access. They can do everything. They can recover from bad situations, whether it's access or recover or create access for other admins. But every other admin other than those break glass admins, they should be really using their own account that belong to other groups with less privileges than administrator group. So if you're looking at the group list, I'm following also the CIS benchmark, and I created list of groups to break down my security model to provide least privileges principle. So I created the group for I am admin. This will be able to manage users and policies. Credential admin, coast admin, network admin. They will only be looking at network resources in certain compartments, preferably in certain compartments, not the whole tenant. So if you're not familiar with the compartment concept, compartment is a logical representation or logically group of resources that you decide to put them together because you want to manage them with, number one, security policy, who get access to those resources. You can write one statement to give access to one group to all the resources in one compartment. So it's a group of resources. We call it compartment. And then I'm going to show you also the list of compartments I created here following the CIS benchmark, but also feel free to use whatever match your business needs. Compartments are also, by the way, good to use for monitoring the consumption, the cost analysis of those resources, how much credit they are burning, and so on. Now, I created also a group for app dev. Those are the developers. Usually they need access to compute, maybe databases, but usually the database will be with the database DBA group, right? App dev will need access to storage, probably, maybe API gateway, and so on. You have an auditor group, and you can break down much more granular level of groups. The more granular, the more control you will have, and the more fine-tuned policies you will have. Let's look also at the compartments, because that's directly related to the groups. So compartments are available outside the domain. And in my case, if I look here, I have my root compartment, which is my tenant name. And then I have the top compartment. I created this sub-compartment under root. And then I prepare these compartments. Again, one for app dev, database, exa, if you are using Exadata, network, security, but you can create also as many needed as your business need. You can create sub-compartments as well, up to 6 nested levels. So that's how you break down your tenant into group of compartments, group of users. Those group of users have access, and what control the access level for that group to the compartment is the policy, right? So if you look at one of the policies here, you can see that you have statements and you can add more statements, right? So the statement looks something like allow group of administrator, that group name that you created, to manage, and that action you can control. You can say only to inspect or to manage or other actions to what resources in the tenancy or in the compartment, right? So that's how you break it down. That's something foundational we recommend you create. Now, after looking at all that, let's look, for example, at my default domain and look at multi-factor authentication, which is something, again, foundational. We urge you, if you not have it used, at least for admins, we recommend for all users, but at least for admins, that you do it today. Now, if I look at security configurations here and I go to sign-on policies, I will look at my default policy. And let's look at the different rules I have here. All right, so I can choose to enforce this for a certain group or certain identity provider or only for administrators, but here I choose to have it for all users in this domain. And the actions I want is, after I allow the access, I am prompting for an additional factor. I'm flexible here. I say any factor that is configured, you can use. We look at we will have a look today at what factors are supported. But I can also be a little bit strict and say I need a particular, say if you're an admin, I want a particular factor, and maybe that is a passcode or even a push notification using the mobile app, or I need a FIDO authenticator and so on, right? I'll keep it for now as any factor is enough. Okay, so if we go back and look at the security, if you look at the multi-factor authentication, this is where the admin configure which tokens or which factors are enabled. Here, I'm not choosing to enable security questions, only a bypass code. DO, for example, is not enabled. A mobile app, and me personally, I prefer to use the push notification. So with Face ID on my mobile app, I just say, yes, that's me, and I pass this. But you can control so many settings for each different token. So let's see how is it. This is the admin experience, how you configure it. But let's look at how the user does that. If I look at my profile here as an admin, I can look at security. And then under security, I will see my two-factor verification. I'm enrolled here with one mobile. I can rename it. I can remove it. Let's say if I lost that mobile. And I can also enroll in more devices. I can generate bypass code if that was enabled by the admin. Once you generate one, that will be one-time use. Once you use it, it will expire. It will help you to recover from a situation, let's say, where you lose the other factors. For example, the mobile. All right. So what else we want to go through is let's move to the access governance part, how to review who has access to what. And for that, let me move to this recording we prepared. And so what we will be using here is Oracle OCI access governance service that is available in your tenant. You can spin up an instance and then start registering different targets for monitoring. Today, we support, as infrastructure, we support OCI. And in this demo, we already integrated or registered 2 different tenants that we will be monitoring or doing access review for. In the future, we are also planning to add more infrastructure providers. So nice thing is, for now, for OCI, you can do multi-tenant access review from the same access campaign. In future, when we add different vendors, you will be able also to look across your cloud environments. So let's start looking at that. We have a reviewer here. She is deciding to do access review for her team, and she will look at different ways of doing it. She will do it first up, like from the top down, and she look at a particular user she's maybe interested in, or particular resource. At the end, she will go bottom up and she will look for a particular policy, and then see how this is affecting all the access model of the OCI admins. So what she's doing here, and you might notice that the interface here is what we call conversational. It's asking you, what do you need to do today? So she's choosing to do access review for OCI. She's using the tenants register. She chooses both of them. And then the interface will ask you, do you want to pull all details, or do you want to see only particular users? Do you want to see in particular roles, for example? You can see on the right side, while you are picking these options, this filter is being, this screen here is filtering what scope you already picked. And that is the only scope that we will be reviewing through this. So out of 200 policies here, she only picked 2 policies that she wants to look at. And you can see now that if you just go back for a second, once she filtered, she started to look at only 2 policies, not 200, and that the scope is for 2 tenancies, last 30 days only. So she's focusing only on the policies created in the last month. No need to look at everything. You can decide you want to look at the last 6 months, last year, and so on. Now, she will pick up a workflow for now, how she wants to approach that access review. For now, she's using something very simple, 1-level approval, and that's being reviewed by her, by the auditor herself. But you can change that to ask for a different workflow, delegate to someone else to do that, and continuously monitor the progress of that. So now she created the campaign. She wants to look at it. And again, the interface is trying to help you to be more productive. First, it's saying if you feel ambitious, if you want to look at all the campaigns assigned to you, you can start with all of them. But if you want me to nominate, we are using AI and machine learning here, looking at the content of those campaigns and the recommendations there. If something is more sensitive, then we nominate it for you to take care of before the others, right? So if you want to give priority advised by the tool itself, you can do that. For now, she's choosing to view everything. She will pick the last one, and let's see how access governance can help her. So these are the campaigns. She's looking at employee policy for EMEA, the one that she created now. You can see the recommendation is to review. Sometimes the recommendation can be just to accept, nothing risky. There's no segregation of duties, for example, violence, no sensitive things there. So we recommend that you just accept it. You can still choose to look at it and review it one by one. But on a high level, we can tell you this you can pass, but this you better review. So she chooses to take action for that one. And at this time, she can see the OCI tenants that she chose and the policies, the 2 policies that she also picked and that she is reviewing, right? So that includes 4 different statements. Now, if that is enough details for her, for me, it's not, but then she can accept or reject or revoke the access or delete the statement. But now she decides to look at one of those statements and analyze what does that mean for user access. Remember the policy that we saw in the IAM a few minutes ago is connecting which group can do what to which compartment, right? And the group has a set of users. So how is this policy affecting my my privileges given to the admins? Now, you can see easily here on the dashboard that this policy is giving access to 96 different users to that compartment. You can filter those users. In particular here, she's interested in Taylor, in Ann Taylor. She's gonna filter out and see whether Ann has access. And then, so what does that mean if I have access to that compartment? It means I will have access to a group of resources that belong to that compartment. And if you look here, it's showing us all these resources. In this case, in the demo case, it was a couple of buckets that are in this. So in each tenant, you remember we chose 2 tenants. In each tenant, there was 2 buckets, right? Now I can decide now whether this is risky, whether this is acceptable. But also good thing is she could see the history, the access review trail, and she could tell that she already accepted that the same exact access rights in the previous few runs of that campaign. So she decided that is still acceptable, then she accept all, or revoke all, or take, let's say, individual action one by one. Now that was a way of looking at things. If you know what you're looking for, and then you go and look at a particular policy and then see how does it affect. Now she's taking another approach, a bottom-up approach. She's listing all the resources. Now I'm looking at 106 resources across different 39 resource types. A resource type, for example, is a storage, is a bucket, or is a compute instance, is a database, and so on. You can see that each resource here, you can see, you can review which identities have access to it, and then you can start filtering. In this case, the auditor is looking at human resources, anything with tagged or named human resources or belong to human resources compartment. You can see that here we have 2 compartments and 2 buckets. The same thing that the policy affected, right? But I'm just taking a different way of looking at it. At the end, I will be able to see the identities and decide whether I want to keep their access or revoke their access. Once I look at the details of each one, the tool will help me to look at it from organization perspective. Those identities belong to which organizations, which job descriptions or which roles, and then also which locations. You can filter, you can export this if you want to work on it offline, or you want to feed it for some other systems for review and so on. So very valuable things, easy to use, minutes to connect to OCI tenant across more than one tenant of OCI, and start looking at who has access to what. The things that we just created, now you are looking at it and analyzing it. And if it doesn't match your exact policy, you can start fixing your policies, right? But also it's a great way for auditors to continually prove that they are on top of things and they know who has access to it. Now, with that, let's move to the last part of the live demo from my side and look at the other tenant I have with security posture management enabled, and that is OCI CloudGuard, which you can get again from the identity and security menu under CloudGuard. So if I'm looking at the dashboard here, CloudGuard will already pull all the configuration of the tenant and look at best practices, including some of those best practices are already in the CIS benchmark, and give me a good view of how I'm doing about my security posture. The first section here is telling me my security score. This is from 0 to 100. I'm doing 45. It's just fair. It's not good. You should aim to have this above 80. Above 80 is considered very good or excellent, and should be as high as possible. Now, the risk score is a score out of 10,000. You can see that my tenant is doing very bad. That's the highest score I can get about risk, right? So you should aim to have this as close to 0 as possible, something below 2,000 or below 1,000. Now, I will have a quick look at the recommendation, the most important recommendation, but then you can also see the full list of recommendations. For example, here we are, CloudGuard is telling me that the VCN security list allows traffic to restricted ports. And by the way, that's something Marcus will show us today, how you can detect this yourself with a command line, or how you can even do it with CloudGuard. But this is a high-level view. I can see the locations of the incidents, not incidents, but incidents here means something of a high risk that we want you to be aware of. We are highlighting it. We break this into critical, high, medium, low, minor criticality. We recommend that you make sure at least the critical and high ones are taken care of and remediated as soon as possible. Now, in terms of breaking down the problems to analyze them, you can look at them by resource type. That's the one I usually like to look at, honestly. I can know whether, like, which configuration or which OCI resource is giving me the hardest the most amount of issues or threats. Here you can see critical issues with users, VCNs as well. For example, my keys are okay, my buckets are okay, so I don't focus on them. I can look also by compartment. A compartment might be a project, might be a team or a department, so you can immediately start working with them on remediation. I will not look at the details problems. I think Marcus will show us a few of them as well. And with that, I hand over to you, Marcus.
Thank you, Ghassan. It's nice that identity is the first part of defense. Let me share, please, and we can continue. So what I prepared is we talk about identity, but there is other things that we should take care of, and this is part of network, for example. And the idea is that network, especially ports, they introduce vulnerabilities. You know that port 80 can be vulnerable to cross-site attacks or denial of service attacks, and how you can, in a very simple way, query if you have this port exposed or not. And this is the advanced, so if you write here advanced resource query, you will be able, you can highlight here, and you will be able to query with this special query. You can get more information of the syntax here, but we can query this part. And of course, port 3389 is very dangerous because the bots are looking for it, especially if you have it public exposed, and it will be for sure be attacked. So it will give me the results that I had these ports exposed, and the bad ones can use good use of our console and take over our machines. There is also, if you click here in the development tools, this is part of the Cloud Shell that we provide, and this is another type of query by using the CLI. And usually we start the query with OCI and the things that we want to do. We want to search and special text. What we are doing here in this query is we are querying the security list. Okay, we can consider this like a type of firewall that look at the rules of ingress rules that are open to the internet, and with the protocol 6 that correspond to TCP and the port 23. So if I execute this one, I don't get any results. With this, for sure, I can tell you that port 23 is not exposed in my tenant. If I do change this port 22, I will get resources and I will get more information. So very simple way to do it, CLI, or use the advanced query search tool. But this is not the only way. There is the other way that under identity, CloudGuard, as the security tool center, right, that we can use. will be able to detect these things. And this is part of detector recipes that are coming. In this case, usually these detector recipes are at the root level, but you can put it also at the sub compartment level. So let's take a look at the Oracle manage. At the Oracle manage detector recipe. So if we take here and look for the thing that I am interested, so CloudGuard is able to detect this traffic that is exposed to public with the 4 zeros here, the CIDR of the 4 zeros, or we are able to detect also allows to restricted ports. And here you will have a list of restricted ports that we consider that should not be exposed because they introduce vulnerability. The more ports that you have, the most exposed you are, especially when we combine ports with services and applications that introduce more vulnerability. So we, in part of our plan, we want to harden our tenant, and this is what we are trying to show. You have an incident response console to problems in CloudGuard, and we can take a look at this problem that this VCN security list allows traffic to restricted ports. You can take a look at the labels, and we are matching that with the Center of Internet Security, the version 1. And here we can have additional details. At this step, what we have to do is to fix the problem manually, go to the VCN, check our security list, look for the ports that are impacted, and remediate this. Something else that I wanted to show you is, apart that we need to take a look at the ports, is another part that has to do with logging monitoring. In this part, in the part of profiles, I think let's take a look at these details. So we should be able to know that we have an outage detection period for at least 365 days. And another important thing regarding monitoring is to enable notification. So if we click, if we look here for event, you will have a service which is called event service rules. And what the idea here is to be able to create rules, or that someone in our company, especially in security, is notified of changes in identity providers, changes in users, changes in groups, changes in VCNs, changes in security lists, changes in network security groups, changes in gateways. Because normally in production, these things don't change very often. So we can detect intrusions in our system if somebody is creating a new user that is in an activity, if somebody tries to take over our account. So it's very simple to create a rule. So we'll create a rule, we'll just put a name. In this case, I want to create a rule that detect delete groups, or create groups. You just put a name here, you put a description, very important, that is meaningful to is meaningful to the users, to other part of the team that is going to look at it. We select the event type, we select the service name, groups, create part of the identity, and here, well, I will just select delete or create group. So if I choose delete group here, then I will need to notify this somewhere. This is something that you create before, okay? And in this case, yeah, I have a topic. This is something that you create before the notification, that you can subscribe to a channel, and you can use as a notification an email or something, or Slack or other means to notify part of your team. So then the way, once you create the rule, is to detect this is just to go to identity. You can try your rule like this and just delete a group at this time, because the rule is already created before. So I should be able to receive an email notification, right? So let me show you, because it took really seconds to receive this email. You will receive an email like this, okay? So this email will take the notification that create or delete a group. You will be informed. You will be informed of the event type. You will be reported with the time, with the type of compartment, ID, the tenancy. What is the user that somebody created? What is the name of the group that they created? And what is the resource identity also? So this is the part of notifications, changes that has to do with somebody introducing changes in our tenant, and we should be able to monitor this. Let's talk now about the other part about logging, and logging as something that we need to log every type of activity. So when we come into the console, into logs, so there are two types of logs, logs that I bring, like from on-premise, and I want to bring the logs to OCI, to analyze, to be able to query those. And there are logs that are available. Oracle makes it available for you, but we have to enable it. We need to enable service logs. So what it makes sense is that if I am using some of the services, I will activate the logs, because without those, in incident response case, I will not have much information. I cannot do my root analysis of this information. If you are using API Gateway, it's a good practice to enable those logs. If you're using data science service, please enable the logs. The same for file storage, or the same for load balancer. Oracle provides these logs for you, but we need to activate those logs. So in the case of object storage, you can activate it. I think here I need to choose my compartment, because this is where I decided that those should live. And I have a bucket, so selected, and then I just need to select which type of log I want. Of course, read access will produce a lot of logs. Write access maybe could be recommended also. I put a name, and as simple as this, I'm able to enable these logs. So something else that we can also take a look at it is flow logs. So let me see if I can show you something here. So, okay. So let me choose my compartment. This is the bucket logs, by the way, that I have write access and read access, and this is the logs. And what I did, I created some logs here, some activities yesterday regarding the activity, what happened inside a subnet, and I can show you any time of those, and the information that you will get. You will get this information between communication between two machines. What I did, I transfer a file between these two VM, and you get the date, time in Unix format. So you can have a converter here in order to understand the timing, the type of bytes. This operation was accepted. The destination, it came from this IP, and the source is this public IP, and they access through the source port. So this is regarding, we talk about logging and monitoring. Let's talk about very quickly about storage. If you're using object storage, block volumes, please take care of this security configuration. But if we go to storage compute, we go to the object storage in the buckets, there are some security settings that I should take care of on my buckets. So this is consistent in Oracle Cloud, that when you create a bucket or you create anything, you can have security settings that you should be able to select. We are interested on enable object versioning. When you create an object version, when a new object is uploaded, you create another version of it, and it's overwritten even when it's deleted. So it helps you to feel more protected on this if you enable this enable object versioning. Also, we recommend everything is encrypted in the Oracle Cloud, in the buckets and objects, but with Oracle Managed Key. A good practice is to bring your own key, and then you should be able to select it. When you create the bucket, is by default is becoming private. But if you want to make it public, and you should know that this is more risky, then you should be able to select this. So by default, is secure because this packet is going to be created private. By the way, here I don't think, we should be able to activate also the logs on the different packets, and then it will walk you through a wizard where you can be access to this. I believe that, well, this is what we wanted to talk about. Let me come back to the projection here, and on this topic, we are closing now. About useful resources, what we are providing you here is more information about incident management, also best practices on identity and access management. Please take a look at the links. The reading is short. And best practices on the framework for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So when you look at security, you look at the bigger picture with the framework, usually starting with security with design in mind, with landing zones and a lot of security issues that you need to take care at the very beginning. But then the time continue when you start to having services, and then we provide you these links, because if you're using API Gateway, if you're using network firewall or any other services, you should look at the specific control setting, security configuration, and harden your tenant, and this is part of your preparation plan for an incident. What happens in case of an emergency? And also CloudGuard, we discussed this, and the security health check standard. This is public, available in GitHub. It's a tool with a script that if you execute it against your tenant, is read-only, you will be able to have an output with an HTML with assess how are you in comparison with the CIS benchmark. We encourage you to try it. It's very easy to run, or we can support you if you are interested. And also here is the link for the Security Center of Internet Security that you are welcome to download, especially the OCI security benchmark page. And we want to just tell you a few things regarding incident response plan. We might be hit by an incident. That is true, even with our best practices in place, but we should never forget to be able to recover. And this is our advice to you. We should be able to be resilient. We should be able to stand up. We get hit by an incident with the minimum impact, because if we are not prepared with a disaster recovery or with a fault tolerance architecture, this recovery can be very costly for enterprises. So we encourage you also, and we haven't touched about this, about go for a disaster recovery or try to be resilient apart from being prepared. So this is me until here. Thank you.
With that, thank you all for being here together with us. Thank you, Ghassan and Marcos and Olaf and Tom for helping us today. And we hope to see you soon again. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.